So the Resident Evil showcase is this Thursday. I find it very interesting they're not calling it the Resident Evil Village showcase. Of course, I think it's going to be heavy with Resident Evil Village stuff, but I want to talk about something else that might be happening here, okay? I have seen a few things thrown around that they're going to announce like a new Resident Evil type. I've heard they're going to announce like a new Resident Evil like pay to play kind of game or some kind of ridiculous. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do a games as a service Resident Evil game. I don't think they're doing anything like that. I think Capcom has smart business people, and they have a smart business model as far as like their games and stuff goes. We're going to see a lot of Resident Evil Village, right? We're going to see a lot of that, and I think we're getting a release date. I think there's no way we don't get a release date, especially with everything going on with the title. I won't go into all the leaks and all that kind of stuff, but I think they want to get a release date out there so people can just be on it. Get those pre-orders are going to go up, I think, after this showcase. I think you'll be able to pre-order the game on, the various devices in store or whatever. But I want to talk about what I hope we see. What I hope we see. Now, everybody's been saying Resident Evil 4 Remake. I don't think we're getting a Resident Evil 4 Remake yet. I think we will down the road. And they might even be working on it. But I don't think it'll be far enough along to release. Because it's a big game. If you never played Resident Evil 4, for one, just go play it. It's a masterpiece. The game is incredible. The GameCube version is still the best version of that game, unless you play like a fan remaster or something like that. I think Max Dude played a fan remaster a couple years ago. It was pretty good. It looked great. But the game is massive. I don't think they're remaking it yet. Maybe they're working on it, but it's got so many locations, and it's like a 40-hour game. If you get everything, there's a little bit of backtracking in there, but there's not a whole lot of backtracking. You're out of one area, you go to the next area. You're out of one area, you go to the next area. I mean, it moves you along at a pretty good pace, and there's a lot of stuff in that game. Actually, the original development for Resident Evil 4 took a while, but I hope we get Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake. I love that game. Code Veronica is so good. And it was really on a system that was ahead of its time when it came out with the Dreamcast. I remember the first game I had on Dreamcast. Well, the two first games I had on Dreamcast were three. I bought three at the same time. Power Stone, Record of Lodoss War, and Resident Evil Code Veronica. But Code Veronica was the reason I bought that system. That was the reason I bought the system. That game is excellent. There's backtracking, but the reason I think they might be remaking, I think it could get a remake, right? Because it could use one. It's still got the old tank controls if you want to go back and play it or whatever. But it's a creepy setting. You're on this like military island, kind of all by yourself, and it is you go from one military installation to kind of another one, and I think it's Antarctica you go to at the end of the game. But the dynamic of the game is very interesting because you start as Claire, right? You start as Claire Redfield, and you're on this prison island. You're investigating Umbrella stuff, and then you have to get off this island, and it deals with Wesker. And then right after you are able to get off the island, then Chris Redfield shows up, and you get to play through as Chris Redfield. And the whole time it leads to like this kind of confrontation that's coming to a head on a different base with Wesker. I mean, and there's so many great boss battles in the game. You've got the whole Steve, I forget his last name, but there's a lot of tragic characters in the game. There's a lot of tragedy period in the game. I hope I have nothing to support this on, but I hope we see a Code Veronica remake announced. And they've been on a track record of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 remake. The next one in line is Code Veronica, right? Unless you go Gun Survivor or some lame stuff like that, but nobody cares about that. And then the next one would be Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 5 and 6, you can just throw that out. Resident Evil 5 and 6 don't need a remake. They're PS3 generation. Don't need to remake it. Maybe a remaster. You know what? They could announce a Resident Evil 5 remaster, but Resident Evil 6 was so badly received, they had to go back and redo the entire Resident Evil, how it works. Like, they had to go back and say, okay, what is Resident Evil? Let's scrap what we did in Resident Evil 6. They gave us the all-star Michael Bay, every character, blah blah, big junk garbage version of Resident Evil, right? Try to put all this stuff in there and introduce a Wesker kid and all this kind of, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. I mean, it's big goofy fun, but it didn't work as far as Resident Evil goes. Resident Evil is sitting in a corner, a dark corner of an abandoned building, like counting your bullets, and you hear like noises and stuff in the other room, and you're like not wanting to leave the room. That's Resident Evil, not blaring down the city streets all, you know, Call of Duty and just blowing everything away that you see. That's not Resident Evil, man. It didn't work. So and the reason I bring that up is because I've seen people saying that we might get a 5 or 6 remaster. I don't think they're going to touch it. They could do a remaster, but I don't think they're definitely not going to touch 6, right? Because that was a hard stink to wash off for Capcom. I could see them maybe doing a 5 remaster. 5 was fun, but I liked 5 a lot because it dealt with Chris and Jill is my favorite Resident Evil character. So it dealt with those two. And then that's why I had a lot of fun with the number 5. But number 6 was just awful. But I think we're getting a Code Veronica remake. And I think we're going to get a few surprises. A few Resident Evil related surprises that maybe we don't know about. They might show like a rough teaser trailer for the movie. I could maybe see them doing that. Because a lot of people are curious about what this movie looks like. A lot of people are curious. I hope it's good, but from what I've read and some of the stuff that I've seen, I don't know, man. I don't know, but that's a separate subject. But as far as the showcase goes, I think we see a lot of Resident Evil Village, right? A lot of Resident Evil Village. We get a release date for that. I hope we see a Code Veronica remake. If it is a Resident Evil 4 remake, that's cool too. But I want to see a Code Veronica remake. I would love to play through a Code Veronica remake in the style of like the RE2 and RE3 remake. I think that would be incredible. Maybe a teaser for the movie. And I think that's your showcase. I think you fill it up with Resident Evil Village stuff. You talk about some of the characters. You talk about what's kind of going on in the story. You talk about the engine. You talk about what it is. Because I have a theory that the village in Resident Evil Village, and I'm probably way off on this, but for some reason my gut tells me it's the Ganados village from Resident Evil 4. Something tells me it's the Ganados village from Resident Evil 4. I have nothing to base that on, you know. There's little things in the trailer where they say, you know, they're coming again, and there's little nods that there's been some Umbrella presence there in the past, and of course there's thousands and thousands of villages all over the world. Why would they go back to that one? But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, oh man, are they going back to the Ganados village? That would be dope. That'd be dope. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. Resident Evil Showcase is Thursday. Of course, they drop it when I'm gonna be at work, so I'm gonna be on Media Blackout Thursday, starting at 5 o'clock. Of course, I'll be at work, so I won't be on my phone anyway. But I will watch it as soon as I get home. I will put up my video as soon as it's done. So appreciate y'all checking it out. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. Resident Evil, one of my top 3 franchises. You all know this of all time. It's Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Castlevania. Castlevania might be my top, but those are the 3, you know. Those are the big 3 for me. I love it. I can't wait. Hopefully we get some cool stuff. So y'all have a great night. Keep rocking. More to come soon. Be good to each other out there. Stay safe. Above all else, stay safe out there and take care of each other. And I'll see you on the next one.